Hello everyone, this is Chase Pounds. As a tribute to St. Patrick's Day, we talk about a significant in Irish history that's not really known about, which is Irish slavery. Irish slavery in Irish slavery. This was isn't very known about subject, and often when you think slavery in the United States, of course, you used to think about Africans being brought to being enslaved and forcibly brought to the New World. But this isn't exactly always the case. To some extent, it has been said at some point in time during the 17th century, a lot of Irish slaves were Irish Europeans were brought to the New were supposedly captured and brought to the New World and other parts of the Caribbean as a form of slavery. It's a form of slavery as slaves, and this is, as I said, not very known about. Normally, when you think about it, comes talk about history of Irish culture, history, and heritage to the New World in the United States is typically set during been taught, particularly if it's been taught in school when you watch old documentaries. Usually, you hear that the cause of the Irish coming to the United States is mainly because of the potato famine. Though that's not exactly the case. Though it's been, don't get me wrong, the potato famine was a contributing factor to was a contributing factor factor to why many Irish came to the New World, but it's been also been said political issues were also this the second contributed to the flight of many Irish coming to the United States. And this is prior to the Civil War between the 1840s and 50s. Though there are other Irish people before then that had already settled in the U.S. going back to the early American Revolution, pre-Revolution, from the 17th and 18th centuries. 17th and 18th centuries. 17th and 18th centuries, and it's been, some people speculate that you may have had some that came here forcibly against their will, though even before the discovery of the New World, it's been said that the Irish have always been subject to persecution and properly enslavement, captured and being forced to be worked domestically. Though this may be the case, though some will argue that this wasn't a form of slavery but a form of servitude or domestic work though, which was kind of same thing for Africans as well. There was subject to domestic servitude and it was common for blacks and whites to work side by side, but that was before until you got into the 18th century that slavery started to become more directed towards blacks. If whites were no longer had to be subject to slavery. But between the 17th century, there was a time where there's been reports that thousands of Irish were captured and brought to New World, New World, brought to the New World, and put to work on plantations, just as with Africans, mainly for tobacco plantations. Tobacco plantations, probably rice or sugar plantations in places such as the Caribbean, such as Jamaica. It was common for a lot of Irish to be brought there, as well as Barbados, probably. And many of these Irish were paid. Many Irish, the price of slaves was more higher than the Africans, surprisingly. Uh, well, I should say, I think it was the Irish that were more cheaper than the black Africans, which was to be surprised because I think they were favored over the whites than the blacks. And I've seen a couple of videos on them. Watch other couple of YouTube videos of this. But many of these, oddly, they don't show that many pictures of the Irish slave, and this is one of the few pictures I've seen. Many of these were other pictures of Africans being enslaved, but yet they continue mentioning the Irish were enslaved. Many of course, were though a lot of people dispute that the Irish were ever enslaved, but it was a form of domestic servitude, or it was a circumstance that people that were considered less favorable, or had a record, a criminal record, or committed a crime. And a lot of times, people were imprisoned, were sent to the New World to work, and work, but to some, because since there was no contracts of their work, no records or any contracts between the workers and their masters, some people considered it outright slavery. Well, this could be the fact that whites just erase, just denying the fact that they were subject to slavery. So others would dispute that a lot of times it goes viral on social media that a lot of times people would say that they were enslaved too, not trying to avoid the subject that the black people suffered harshly during slavery, though this form of slavery was supposed to be just as horrific as African slavery. African slavery. Nice, as I said, most of these people as I said, most of these people were sent to places of the New World, the Caribbean, and as I said, parts of the Deep South, such as Virginia, which are known for their slavery. Slavery, and I think this continued well into the 18th century, and some even, again, it's often been debated about whether Irish slavery existed, but people claim that since there was no contracts with the slave owners, that it was really slavery, and that slavery, some people said that there was even accounts of people fearing revolts because so many Irish, more Irish Irish people than people in the U.S. at the time than any other ethnic group or race. And but I think over time, I think by the 18th century, I think Irish slavery kind of declined as more Africans, as the table of slavery began to turn on in favor of whites, and they started zeroing in on Africa. They started zeroing in on Africans. Zeroing on Africans, and Africans became more subjugated to slavery, became standardly subject to slavery, and then race-based slavery in the U.S. was established. Established, kind of changing the game of slavery based on someone's skin color, which had never really been adopted before anywhere else in the world. So in the United States, that's why I think slavery in the U.S. is very significant. Right? Slavery is unique for the wrong reasons. For the wrong reasons, I think that's why slavery in the U.S. tends to be unique, because it was the first concept of slavery based on someone's race and skin color. And from that point, as more Irish came to the U.S. between the 18th and 19th centuries, a lot of them kind of, some may have blended. Meaning the early Irish that came during the pre-Revolution, American Revolution, began to settle in with the fabric of America. As it began to blend in with the fabric of the rest of American society, some themselves adopted the prejudices of the United States, and some themselves became slave owners, became part of the slave trade of the African slave trade. Now, them even so, and what's not very known is that many Irish had settled in the urban areas of the United States. Some did settle down south and became slave owners, owned plantations, and became slave owners themselves. Yet at that point in time, they were enslaved as well. And a lot of them really looked down the new Irish rival Irish people that came later during the Potato Famine during the mid-19th centuries prior to the Civil War. And they identified themselves as Scots Irish, trying to distance themselves from the new Irish people. They call it Shanty Irish. And as I said, a lot of them became slave owners themselves. And there's examples of this are these are mostly fictitious, but it reflected that era that many Irish became slaveholders themselves, such as Gone with the Wind, the O'Hara, which is Irish. They were in the story Gone with the Wind. These were people of Irish descent that settled here in the U.S. became planters. And in the story of Alice Haley's Queen, which tells on his other side of his family of his grandmother, which in the film version was played by Halle Berry, but in the story, the white slave owners were supposed to be of Irish descent. So it's interesting how Irish which is actually the norm society, which was kind of standard in slavery, even prior to this, to the U.S. That many people, well, I should say, even in the early ancient times, going back to the Roman Empire, a lot of times people that were once enslaved themselves started owning slaves later on in their future. So that's kind of the cycle of the slavery and the slaving, the, the enslaved and the enslaver. They start off being, I should say, they start off enslaved themselves, but yet they turn around and become the enslavers of other people. So that's, I guess, the cycle of it all. Even in the U.S. And as I said, this is an event that's not really talked about. I watched different videos on YouTube. There are a few other YouTubers out there, and a lot of times they show the same video which talks about it. And there's even been some books written about. One found some 2 books about it. And it's just, though some of it's kind of fabricated, and some are full of truths. But a lot of people deny that Irish slavery ever existed, and was just a form of servitude, domestic servitude. And that's all I have to say on the subject. This is a review by Chase Pounds. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and stay tuned for the next video.